Based on what we're seeing now and how it's developing and how this has been ongoing, how do people here believe the current protests and uprising and things that are taking place as a result are going to actually result in really substantive change finally after centuries and decades of kind of lip service on this issue? Are we really looking at real change now? Hey Rick, what do you think, and how's it going?
It's it's going all right. What we've seen already is real change is already happening. Things like the removal of statues that celebrate slavery, the removal of rules that are protective of individuals that do bad things, a sea change when it comes to altering the way that we view law enforcement. And some of the changes are actually to law enforcement's benefit. You're seeing now a move to have social workers accompany law enforcement when they have sensitive issues, for example, with homeless people or with people who aren't necessarily fit. And that's an area that we've asked law enforcement to deal with, that they were never trained or never intended to be used. So I honestly believe the protest has resulted in a lot of positive change. I think it's impractical for us to expect that change would happen immediately, that it would be complete, and that it would be overnight. So seeing some of the leftovers of the bad time still there, it's not surprising. But police chiefs are quitting their jobs because their people won't listen to the new rules that they want to give them. Officers are quitting because they don't want to follow the new rules that they're being given. This is a cleansing process. This is a way that we flush the system and get new blood in there. Colin, you're always up on things. I'm distracted by Shelly all of a sudden. Colin, you're so CMAC, you heard the question, right? Are the protests arriving change, bringing change to the forefront? And if not, what do we need to do in order to make that happen?
Yeah, I think that the protests are definitely making some strides. I know that in Minneapolis, they've like completely are at the point where they're disbanding their police department entirely. But like kind of like I said last week, I think that there's like this weird structure of how there's like so many different police forces, and how like around in Southeast Michigan, there's like just small cities that each have their own police force. I think that it just needs to be like consolidated and like shrinking in a way. I know that Dearborn's kind of like trying to start taking some stuff and with their budget. And there's a town hall tonight that I was gonna just be on Zoom, where they're gonna talk about it with my state rep and state senator. I think that there needs to be a lot more done, especially like with the drug war, and that's why I'm on the decriminalized nature bandwagon, and just trying to continue to rid of these scheduled substances that usually cause the most harm and lead to the worst police interactions, I think, and kind of allow the police to interact with us in a manner that we don't really want to be interacted with.
Well, we've seen a lot of police agencies wielding power that allows them to get certain privileges. Police unions have negotiated features of their contracts which prevent police officers from being interviewed by leadership after an incident, that hide some of the details from the public and that shield them from prosecution. Jim Salame, I hope you're not parked at a Wendy's, man. But I'm just gonna say, this is such a big issue. It's hard to get your mind around all of aspects of it. So let's just grab onto one aspect of it. Are these protests bringing about change, and the change that we're seeing, is it superficial or durable?
Well, whether or not it's durable remains to be seen. But I think there's a lot of sincerity to it in the United States and around the globe. I mean, seeing things that can South Korea, or in the Philippines, or just anywhere else other than the United States, I think speaks highly to, the repression and some of the things that are occurring, not just in the United States, but globally. And I think that alone really helps that change and that mountain grow bigger and that momentum get stronger. So I think change it's inevitable. It's just, I think we want to make sure that we don't alienate people. I don't want to alienate law enforcement. I want to make them better. And I think that's what's lacking here right now is we need to all get on the same side.
Giving greater tools is a benefit as long as the people wielding the tools are trustworthy. Debra Young, oh man, what a great background. Roxy music, gotta love it.
Here I am.
Deb.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly you're asking because I just tuned in. I was a little late. So if you're asking, do I think that the protests are going to show some change with police force and stuff? Yeah, I think the cops are forced to change. I don't think they're changing because they get it. I think we're forcing them to change. I'm going to repeat what I said last week. I don't feel they're sincere with I'm on my knees and I understand now. It's too fast. How do you understand when you didn't understand before? I'm looking for a lot of funding to be taken away from the police department. I don't want to defund public safety, but at this point, police force to me is not a public safety. I'm not looking for the police to protect me because I know that they won't. The times I've turned to police to protection, they did not protect me. So I think that the whole thing has to be looked at again. Budgets have to be changed. The police departments don't need all this military equipment. They don't need, I mean, I'm amazed that what 5 million police officers have like this top of the line riot gear. I mean, they've all got all this equipment. From where? From whose money? What kind of thing is going on that our own money is using to kill us? That's how I'm viewing this. So yeah, a lot of change has got to come. The police are gonna drag their feet. They're looking at right now in the public like they're agreeing with us that they agree that they need to change. But I don't buy that at all. We're forcing them to change. They're going to change because we're going to make them change. That's my opinion. If I got the question wrong, I apologize.
You got the question exactly correct. I'll say that Donald Trump today signed legislation, an executive order that said only a tiny fraction of police officers are really doing bad things. So we're not going to adjust police officers. And we're also not going to mention race as part of the reason why we're doing this. So they did some moderately lukewarm things in order to pacify folks.
I watched his press conference, which, by the way, none of him or his staff or any of the people were wearing masks or were social distancing at all. Yeah. I mean, of course, he's a total idiot. And I would like to say it's not just people of color that the police don't protect properly or attack. It's women too, okay? We have been treated like crap by the police for many, 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 many decades. And I'm sure, I mean, they're not killing us in the numbers that they're killing Black people and brown people, but a lot of those Black and brown people have been women. And I've had very bad experiences with cops because and I know it's because I'm a female. So there's a lot of change that's got to happen in this world. Perhaps this is the catalyst for it. If it is, hey, that would be great. If it's not, well, then we just got to keep pushing some more. Now the momentum's up. Now the young kids are pissed. So let's see if that translates into them actually voting in November, like we always hope they will, and they don't. Let's hope that they are so pissed off that they come and vote all these assholes out of there. That's all I can really say about that.
Well, I shared on Medical Mondays last night that I was watching MSNBC and a wonderful person spoke, and she said, when I do meetings, I read off the names of all of these male African Americans that people know, Philando Castile, George Floyd, all of these names. And then I read a second list, a list of females killed by police officers. And people don't recognize any of those names, even though they were just as heinous of a crime as those others. For whatever reason, our society or our media seems to value male life more than females. Shelley, I see that Shelley Smith is joined by Julie Barron, but it looks like they're not in a position to contribute.
Two more females, yes.
I know. More
voices.
But
they have the audacity to be having fun on a day like this.
I know, it's such a tease. Mike Whitty, Dr. Detroit, thank you for joining us for our broadcast today. Typically, when we begin the broadcast, we do go round robin around our panel here and just ask him that one simple question. Do you believe that the the protests are actually going to make a big difference? And if so, are those differences going to be durable changes to society?
Yes, durable, because it was black and white together, young and old, all classes. That will be durable. That's intergenerational. We have to salute the radical and idealistic youth. And I was impressed in the 5 different marches I've engaged in the past 10 days to 2 weeks, constantly a reassurance that my days at Selma, Alabama with Martin Luther King in 1965 are being revisited, and we will have a good ending here. I'm very much an optimist about making our legacy a great contribution, and cannabis is one of our helpers.
Well, when we talk about legacy, you've certainly got a long history in not just cannabis law reform, but in the Democratic Party. You hang out in California for half the year and here in Michigan for the other half. So you spread the goodness that is Gail Whitty and also a little bit of you around the nation. Thank you for doing that. Nicole Braden, I see that you've joined us, and thank you very much for doing so. We haven't given you a proper introduction. We'll do that in a little bit, but you are running for public office. So I'm very curious to see your opinion about the same thing too. The protests that we've seen in all these cities, to what degree is that having success in moving the minds of lawmakers out there?
Well, I can't say my own lawmaker, that my own state representative, she's made no comment about these protests at all. Nothing regarding Black Lives Matter. But myself, I've attended 4 different demonstrations in the 2 communities that make up the district I'm running for, and I attended a 5th one in Holly. The fact that white people are coming out and standing up for Black and brown people, and they're bringing law enforcement with them. I think that's important, that they bring those who are sworn to protect us to walk in solidarity with the citizens. I think it's important. And I've seen legislation, or at least resolutions, being introduced. I see there is movement, and I think people are getting used to the phrase defund the police, although a lot of us are educating what that means, because I'm not sure if it unrolled as the best term for what it means. But the fact that we're talking about police reform, I think, shows that we are moving forward, and I feel pretty good. But the hard work is after the demonstrations. It's not during. It's fine to stand there and chant and hold a sign, but it's after the demonstrations where you do stand up when you see racism. You have to call it out, and I think that's the most important as white people that we do, because it is our problem, not the problem of the brown people and Black people.
Right. So, Jamie, we've been around the horn. I'm not sure if our wandering water girls are ready for us. I guess they're not. I guess the most important thing for us to recognize is that even though we can't predict whether or not these changes are going to be durable, that we have to push for the greatest amount of correction to the system right now. When President Trump issues a statement about this problem and doesn't mention race, he's trying to push race under the carpet, and we can't allow that to happen. Although the police agencies need reform for many, many reasons, the fact is we're seeing right now in real time that African Americans and people of color are disproportionately affected, and they absolutely have to be protected.